Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to an exciting new chapter. I'm Quentin Thomas, executive producer of the Chat with Leaders podcast. Today, we have a very special episode lined up for you as we introduce our new podcast, the People Experience Pulse, or as we like to call it, the PX Pulse. As some of you may know, our previous podcast, Chat with Leaders, has had an incredible run thanks to the exceptional hosting of Jeff Bond. For 2 amazing years, Jeff interviewed over 100 business leaders sharing their invaluable insights on more than 180 episodes. Wow. Now it's time to turn the page and embark on a new adventure. I am thrilled to introduce our hosts for the PX Pulse, the incredible Vicki Flier Hudson and the talented Jeff Bond himself. In this trailer episode, I sit down with Jeff and Vicki to delve into the inspiration behind this podcast and the significance of highlighting the leaders who are truly elevating people's experiences in the workplace. We'll explore Jeff and Vicki's backgrounds and experiences, which will help unlock our guests' unique experiences on the PX Pulse. So without further ado, let's dive into this conversation and learn how the PX Pulse aims to make a positive impact on the way organizations approach people, employee, and human experiences. Jeff and Vicki, it is an honor to be interviewing you both right now. And thanks for letting me sit down with you and talk to you about the new show, the PX Pulse.
It's a complete pleasure, Quentin. Thank you so much for that fabulous introduction.
Yeah, I was super excited about this. I'm even more charged up after that introduction.
Me too.
Really privileged to work with you and excited about this conversation. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, awesome. Great. Well, then, let's go ahead and dive into it. So the first question, and Vicki, I'll go to you first. Can you share with our listeners what inspired you to start the People Experience Pulse podcast and focus on people, employee, and human experience leaders?
Thanks, Quentin. So to me, people are everything. I've kind of built my entire life and my career around people. They drive everything. They drive business, they drive culture, they drive each other. And I have seen in my life and my career what people can do when they set the intention to build a workplace culture that uplifts and inspires. And I've also seen what happens when they don't. So kind of seen both sides of it. And another reason why this podcast is important to me is because all the research and the data is coming out and pointing to and confirming what I have long believed, that culture and company and organizational values make all the difference between mere survival at work and thriving. And that's what we want, right? We want people to be thriving. But I think even more importantly, as I was really delving into this question and giving it some thought, people experience is not just a nice to have, it is a necessary element for diversity and inclusion. Because if work is only transactional, and some people may resonate with that, and that's fine. It may be their style. But if that's the only mode that we have, you're leaving out an awful lot of people in that, from that sense of belonging. So not only is belonging good business, but it is the right thing to do. So that's why people matter. So I want to spotlight leaders who are elevating people because they can learn from each other. So why reinvent the wheel every time? Why should every leader have to reinvent this process of having a great people experience? So many leaders are already out there doing this amazing work. So let's tap into their wisdom and let's elevate them too.
That's great. Yeah. And Jeff, what about you?
Yeah, Vicki, that was so inspiring. You know, I've spent the last 20 plus years in the fields of business consulting, whether that was people, tech, management, et cetera. And after the last few years of doing my own leadership podcasts, it's really clear to me that business is an inherently human experience. And if you don't get people, you don't get business. And frankly, coming out of the pandemic and understanding the collective trauma that people have experienced and this shift towards distributed teams, it's become more and more evident that people experience is a serious leadership responsibility in organizations, and you're seeing more definition around that role at an executive level. And so I thought with you and Quentin and our team that it was just so important now to look at this emerging field and think about the new frontier. How are we actually applying these techniques to design experiences that can never be a one size fits all. It's often a one size fits one, and we're trying to do that at scale. And so we really need to shape some perspectives on rethinking business leadership, overcoming the collective trauma of the pandemic and all the mental health issues, and really unlock the wisdom, the techniques, the best practices that can make this really applicable within our organizations, so that as business leaders, we can all become more people focused, which will contribute to our sustainability as businesses and the endurance that we experience with financial returns and being able to pass it down through generations. So I'm just excited to be on the learning journey with you both, and to really glean from the wisdom of all our guests.
Yeah. I love how you both talked about it not just being something that's an optional thing, like the people experience is something that has to be done. And even how you tied that together with building a sustainable company as well. That really stands out. And I really appreciate you for sharing that. So I'll start with Vicki, and then Jeff, you can follow up right behind. As host, what unique perspectives are you bringing? Perspectives, experiences. What are each of you bringing to this podcast and plan to contribute to its success?
I'm a diversity, equity, and inclusion executive coach with an extensive background, a long history in global teamwork and cross-cultural competency. So I love difference. I am passionate about it. It's something I've always loved ever since I was a child. And I've seen how difference can enrich a team and bring a variety of perspectives and innovation, but only if we really focus on the people aspect. So I'm really excited to bring that DEI lens to the PX Pulse and to draw out from the guests their difference, their unique perspective, their strategies for creating an inclusive workplace, what they do to create a sense of belonging in the workplace. So I have always valued difference, and I'm a rock musician in addition to being a DEI coach. And in that role, you interact with people from all walks of life. And my goal in music is to uplift and inspire people, but I have to be able to communicate with them in all of their difference. So I look forward to using all of these skills in the PX Pulse, and mainly getting the wisdom from our guests, like Jeff said. That's the real gold here.
All right. Well, outside of spending time with you two incredible humans and being able to partner with a literal rock star on this show, which I'm so excited about, I just have a ton of curiosity around learning people experience techniques and how we can focus with intention on this critical area of business. I try to lead our business through the lens of conscious capitalism, and the tenets are higher purpose, stakeholder orientation, conscious culture, and conscious leadership. And I think it's so imperative that we create businesses that prioritize people, because when we can equip our people with intentional leadership, intentional techniques, they have more of a global mindset, they're able to relate to one another more and have more of an innately human experience at work. They take those skill sets out into the community, out into the world, and it really has an exponential impact. And so I'm really excited, to deliver that kind of content that's going to educate and inspire people experience leaders and those charged with people experience, even founders of organizations, CEOs that we're also going to be bringing on the show that are prioritizing this, and helping unpack how this marriage between people experience and whether you call it HR, PX, or EX, or whatever you call it, that you get buy-in from your senior leaders, that they prioritize this, because it can have a significant impact, not just on the stakeholder community, but on your profits and on the sustainability of your business. So I'm really excited to come to this through the lens of this being a business imperative of putting people first. And lastly, I'm really driven by my faith life and my personal purpose, which is to serve others. I really think that we were all created on this earth to experience communal living, community with one another, but we're often at odds. We live in a very divisive world. And so if we can learn how to commune well within our workplaces, it is also a skill set that we can bring into our families, into our neighborhoods, into our spiritual lives, and really just learning how these techniques apply in so many ways. I'm just really excited to be on the journey of curiosity with you both.
Yeah, that's great.
Same.
And
Same.
I'm excited. Yeah, I'm also excited to be on this journey with you both as well. I love what Vicki said about difference can enrich a team, and it really ties in well to how Jeff finished that as well about communal living and bringing that not just from the workplace but into society. Like all these differences come together in a community, and these differences can not only enrich the workplace but enrich our communities as well. And I think that's something people really need to hear right now. So talking about that and people hearing that and getting that positive effect, how do you envision the PX Pulse making a positive impact on the way people approach organizations and people experience employee experience or human experience?
For me, I feel that no leader or no person should have to go it alone in anything. And so through this podcast, I'm hoping that we can model what the people experience is all about by creating collaboration in the podcast itself. And I'm very inspired by our own team and how much we care about each other, and we have the human experience with one another. And so by sharing these strategies and best practices from our guests, I think that listeners are going to accumulate a great knowledge base of really helpful ways to elevate people. When you elevate people, you elevate everything. You elevate business, you elevate your community. And I also hope that listeners gain inspiration from hearing what is possible. So there's a quote out there somewhere about if you can't imagine it, it's hard to do it, right? So we have spoken to some incredible leaders, some of who are just starting their people experience journey, and some of whom are well on the way and quite experienced. And all of them have offered takeaways that have stayed with me and that we can apply to our own team and that listeners can apply it to theirs because I'm inspired by them. And I think our listeners will be too. And I'm inspired by how it applies in just about every situation. So I always say about our team here, you two amazing humans and our team, that we actually care. Whether we're elevating an all hands meeting for our clients or we're just chatting internally on Slack, it's always about people. And so I want to learn from our guests, and I hope our listeners do too, how to elevate any experience in the workplace because it all starts with people.
I love that, Vicki. And yeah, it's been so inspiring, the conversations we've had thus far. And I can only imagine how much more inspiration is coming down the pike in future episodes, and being able to share that with others to explore this new frontier of human experience at work is such a privilege. And over the last 3 years of doing my own podcast, that's really been my favorite part of it, is just learning. And it really becomes the fuel for my own leadership and the own decisions that I make, to be more discerning about prioritizing people or approaching business this way. It really helps me shape the model of making decisions around our operations and how we communicate. And it really just makes me better. I feel like all these conversations collectively is just the shared wisdom creates like a mastermind collective. And I look at this show as way more than a podcast. You know, we're doing a podcast, we're getting a lot of great conversations, and we're putting out content. But because this is such a business imperative, we're educating ourselves and we're educating others on how to become industry leaders and experts in this field of people experience to build better businesses that have more impact. And so being able to gain these practical strategies, convene our community, come together, share this wisdom, be in community with one another, be more inclusive in our thinking and our practices. I really think that that's going to make a fundamental impact. And I envision this being a way that we can help contribute to the way organizations approach people experience.
Awesome. And are there any specific insights or takeaways the audience can look forward to hearing or gaining from this?
I think that we're in for a lot of surprises, so I'm not entirely sure yet. But based on what I've heard so far, I think there's going to be a lot of key people strategies, everything from methods of retention to inclusive leadership behaviors to how to really make employee feedback work for you. So these are some of the things that we're hearing. But more importantly, I think what our listeners are going to get out of this is how these strategies are being played out in real organizations. Because seeing it in action is far better than reading some bullet points about the theory of people experience. And I think through our podcast, our guests, our listeners, and we are going to learn and see the reality of it. And that's going to be inspiring, uplifting, and practical for them.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So many of the podcasts are so theoretical, and you get the quote unquote thought leaders that come on and give their 5 steps to, financial freedom or success or whatever it might be, right? But these are actual real time boots on grounds leaders that are struggling through this, making it work, getting like exploring this brave new world of distributed workforces and having company-wide all hands meetings be on Zoom, and trying to create connection and recognition and celebrate the wins and actually have people get to know one another when we are replacing your traditional like happy hours and in-person experiences where you could swivel the chair and talk to your coworker. These things just don't exist as often anymore, but there is so much opportunity to learn and to do this better. And we are learning day in and day out how these people experience leaders are getting buy-in from senior leaders, or how those senior leaders are taking this seriously and empowering their organizations to lead in such a way. How DE&I is being prioritized, what's working, what's not, being able to highlight the importance of trust and social cohesion and having clear responsibilities and projects that actually move the needle versus just are performative and operated within a vacuum and in silos. So we're really hearing about this role of employee experience leaders and how to build agency within our organizations to really shift the culture and drive enduring businesses. And so it's going to be a great journey. We've already heard a lot so far. We're excited to release our first batch of episodes. And again, I have no doubt that the future conversations are going to continue to uplift and educate us.
Wow. If people were not excited to hear those episodes before, I'm sure they are now, and I know I'm excited to hear them. I've heard a couple of them already. I know they're great. So this is fantastic. All right. So to wrap things up, I'm gonna start with you, Vicki. What message would you like to convey to our listeners as they embark on this journey with you through the People Experience Pulse?
So we hope that our listeners join us, but also stay with us as we walk this road of people experience, because every guest is different. Every guest is going to bring a unique story to the table, and you just never know what you're going to hear on the PX Pulse. There are just surprises and practical actions around every corner. And of course, as Jeff said, we, the hosts, are here to learn as much as the listeners, but also inclusion itself is a journey. It is a marathon. It is not a sprint. As much as sometimes we wish it would be that way because it's the easy road, right? But inclusion is not an easy road. And so this series of ongoing conversations on the PX Pulse will keep listeners engaged, keep them informed, keep them growing, and us too. So stay tuned.
Yeah, I love that. Inclusion, belonging itself is a journey. And frankly, it is something that we need to be on a relentless pursuit to improve in our own lives and our own leadership and perspectives. The world is changing before we know it. It's a global economy. We're working with people all over the world, and we need to have a better sense of cross-cultural competency. And I have a news flash. We are all mere mortals on this earth. And so eventually we're going to depart into the realm of those that have gone before us, and we're going to join them resting. But listen, this is all about creating the next generation of inclusive people leaders. We need to leave this world in a better place than where we found it. And so the wisdom that we can glean today and apply and impact the generations that are flowing through our organizations is going to create a brighter future for our children. And that's really my why, right? I have 3 kids, and I want to make sure that when they enter the workforce or when they enter into their own personal leadership, that they learn from these lessons and they can apply it, and they can really look through the lens of inclusion and belonging and help build sustainable futures for the generations after them. So we're building a global economy, impacting stakeholders in our communities, and we're going to be talking to a lot of the leaders that are forging ahead and teaching us the ways of what to do, what not to do, and how to continually learn. So I'm excited to be on this journey with all of you listeners and each of you and our team and all of our guests.
I'm excited to be on this journey with you both as well. Thank you for letting me kick off the PX Pulse with the both of you. And to all of our listeners, we look forward to having you all join every other week. The PX Pulse will be releasing a new episode with our great hosts and the people who you got to hear today, Vicki, Flier, Hudson, and Jeff Bond. Thank you both for joining us today.
Thanks, Quentin.
Thank you, Q.